I cried out to God. God, sent me to a Christian family. I want to know more. Unbeknownst to anybody, something is happening in my heart. I'm becoming a Seventh-day Adventist. They checked everything for the guy in front of me, and I'm like, God, help. I think an angel came down. The little soldier looked at my passport, glanced at me, didn't even look at me, glanced at my passport, turned pages, and I thought, please. And then I think an angel grabbed his arm and he waved me through without check. Oh, it's good to be with you. I look at the camera. I don't see you. And you're real people. The bad part is you already know everything I know. And I've said with YouTube. But I'm going to share my testimony today. But I have a present for some people. Number one is Miss Jean. Thank you for coming. And I'm always happy to see young adults. Majority of young adults leave God and church between 15 and 25. Some come back when kids come along, but most don't, so thank you for coming. So I got a present for you too. Randomly, I brought these from Texas.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
this one. What's your name?
Annabelle.
Annabelle. And the rest of you, I used to do a lot of PowerPoint with motion graphics and moving backgrounds, and a good PowerPoint for me was 1.5 gigabytes upwards. But I'm fasting from PowerPoint. And I've also noticed the moment I turn on the screen, you're looking at the screen, and I'm secondary, which is good. I need to be third, fourth or so. But it affects our brain too, communication, and we'll take a break from screens. But everything I say and quotes and citations, Bible verses I brought with me, I'll talk a little about Trinity later on, and a lot of my friends think this is just salad and breadsticks right now. I'm splitting hair. We can't understand God anyway. We'll sort this out in heaven. Why are you making a big deal out of this? Why would you give up your career over this? And so I put everything I know on this topic on one sheet of paper. Our fundamental beliefs 100 years ago, comparison, the main text, John 17:3, of course, and what the real issue is, the sonship of Christ in eternity, and what our scholars say. I'll read some of that later on. Then what the General Conference says, how we should not be judged or terminated over this, in writing. Yep. And my favorite quote, but we'll do that later. I have plenty of these in color. I had them sent to Staples Helena. It's very convenient for me, then I don't have to lug them around and pick them up where I go. And tengo los documentos en español también. Anybody speak Spanish? No? Yeah, I have it in Spanish as well. And then I also have a page, there's a famous speaker written books on the topic, and I wrote a response constructively without mentioning his name. I don't want to throw people under the bus. But there's questions, is God a plurality? Because God is love, there must be more than one. Is the word Elohim is a plural? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's very much misunderstood. So I go through these academically, really, and I have a paper on that. And then I also brought, they're behind Anna, or just Ann? Annabelle, that's better even. Annabelle, they're behind you. Afterwards, you can have a stack of these. I'm not talking about those today, but those are my most recent productions. They're my PowerPoints. Well, let's pray together before we start. Our Father in heaven, we thank you that we may call you Father. That means we're your kids. We're full of joy because of your word and truth and discoveries and forgiveness and your undeserved grace and mercy. And we also come with tears. There are unspoken issues in us, among us, family, kids, parents, husband, wife. We bring ourselves to you as living sacrifices. I want to pray for this group here, that you grant them harmony and unity, growth, healing, patience with the brethren around them, a love, a missionary, genuine, authentic love for their neighbors, and preparation for tomorrow and preparation for eternity. We pray for your blessing now, and I want to specifically pray for the young man that was here, and Annabelle, and other young lady here, that you will help them to walk with you, especially when it's difficult. Thank you for your presence in Jesus' name. Amen. Your name? Emily. Everly? Good name. Well, here I am. Normally, I had meetings in Helena, and normally I would have flown back today and then come back for Spokane, but for some reason I thought, it was my wife's idea. You can thank her. She said, why don't you stay up there and have some peace and quiet in the mountains? I said, yeah. Well, it turns out I'm going to Trout Creek from here. Well, first Lolo, Trout Creek, then I visit an isolated family in Eureka. By the way, you think you're the only ones and you're isolated. There are little groups and people like this all over the world. Praise the Lord. I was in northern Canada where you can't even have a garden because the growth season is too short. And there's a group of 20, 30 people in the middle of nowhere, all over. Germany has a strong movement all over the place. Then I visit a couple that I married last year. I visit them in Sandpoint, and then I go over to Cusick, Washington, then Abbey, visiting a pastor, and then I drop down to Spokane, camp meeting, and then I go back to Texas. I grew up in a very loving and super home in Germany. We didn't have television. Amen. Growing up, I rerouted creeks. Loved it. I would muddy up the waters upstream and then build dams and watch the water clear up. That was amazing. I built huts, hid in them, spied on pedestrians, joggers walking by. They didn't know I was there. I watched animals, plants. I grew up in the woods of Germany in nature. No cell phones. My parents trusted me. I came home for supper. Everything was just great. No internet, no computers. Lots of time with my parents. Imagine this. We had breakfast, lunch, and supper with mom and dad, my obnoxious brother, and sometimes grandma around the dinner table 3 times a day for 20 years. That's unheard of in America, really. A lot of German families, too. Spent a lot of weekends together. My dad helped me with my math homework, fixed my bicycle tire when it went flat, and just good childhood. And then I'm going to fast forward to when I was 13. I'm sorry, some of you know my story, but it might be helpful in context to get the whole 9 yards. You won't believe how many idiomatic phrases English has, the whole 9 yards. I mean, translate that into German, it makes no sense. I was 13, went to downtown Stuttgart. Do you already know my story? Good. Went to downtown Stuttgart at age 13, 14. Don't know what I was doing by myself downtown Stuttgart, but went there many times. Major city, Mercedes and Porsche are made there, neither of which I've ever owned. But I think I get to drive one this week. Yeah, I'm staying with a family that has one. They told me they had something German in their garage. And there was a crowd gathered at downtown Königstrasse, Main Street, lots of people, and there were some men fighting. There was some blood, and it was exciting to watch. Until the police came in boots, riot police, and they broke it up Saturday night and told everybody to move on. In English, nothing to see here, move along. And a guy next to me, now remember, I'm a neo-pagan, postmodern, secular European teenager. I belong to Greenpeace. Sometimes my head was shaved and I wore a military parka. Sociologists call that cognitive dissonance. Typical teenage behavior that doesn't make sense. Parents have a hard time with that, but it's normal. And I grew up in a family, non-Adventist. We didn't go to church except Christmas time, free cookies. I'm serious. And as kids, we got to hold a lantern and walk and sing. That's cool, with a real candle. But otherwise, church was not part of the picture. I was confirmed as a Lutheran, but we never, I don't understand it. Pastor was great, well, I liked him, but we never opened the Bible and had Bible study like we study the Bible and look up verses and underline something. We talked about the Russians. That was a big topic, you know, the Cold War. We talked about girls, politics, money. We memorized the catechism. I had to memorize Matthew 28:18. That was my confirmation verse. All authority has been given unto me in heaven and earth, comma, therefore, verse 19. That's all I remember. I don't remember Jesus. I don't remember an appeal to the heart. I don't know salvation. I didn't learn to pray. So no week of prayer. No fellowship group in, where are we? Where am I? Missoula. I lose track. Missoula. None of that. None of that. And the guy elbows me and invites me to a Coke. Nice guy. Now, I grew up without Coke and no French fries. My dad thought Cokes were moth juice and French fries were bad for you. It needed to be mashed potatoes. He wanted meat on the table and a real cooked meal, not French fries. By the way, French fries in Germany back then, it's not a finger food. We had little plastic forks to poke the French fry and eat it with mayonnaise. No. Different countries, different customers, yeah. French fries and mayonnaise. I don't like mayonnaise. So we rarely got to drink a Coke. During vacation times, sometimes my brother got to buy a Fanta and a Coke and mix it and drink that. We called it a Spezi. So this guy buying me a Coke must have been a really, really nice guy. And we went to a restaurant, he bought me a Coke, and then he said, let's go for a walk. Now that was a little strange, but since he bought me a Coke, I can at least go for a walk with me. How old are you?
24.
Good. So no kids here, so I can talk. Yeah. When kids are, I don't mention the S word or anything like that for the parents ever in the pulpit. And I'll still be kosher here, but you'll see where I'm going with this. And we went to Schlossgarten. It's a park near the main train station, and sat down on a bench. I went to that spot A few weeks ago, when I had meetings in Germany with Nader camp meeting, I went to see my parents in Stuttgart and went to that spot and stood there thanking God. And you'll know why in a minute. That spot right now is the Grand Canyon. It's one of the largest construction sites in all of Europe. We have in Stuttgart a dead-end train station where the trains go in and they can't continue. They have to go back out the way they came. Very inefficient. So what they're doing right now, they're taking the train station, an entire train station, they're lowering it by 20, 30 yards underground and turning it 90 degrees so it's a pass-through train station. A huge construction site. And yeah, I saw it just a few weeks ago. Then he put his arm behind me. Awkward. I'm 13. 14. I'm a minor. When I swept the sidewalk for my mom, we have in Germany sidewalk sweep laws, believe it or not. And we have Sunday laws. You can't mow the yard on Sunday. Today, you can't get the lawnmower out. Not on Sundays. I would receive from my mom $1 Deutschmark, $1, maybe $2 if I cleaned out the gutters. Nasty. But loved doing it because it was clean. And then I maybe got 3 Deutschmarks. When Grandma came to visit from Berlin, she would slip $5 under my plate, breakfast time. And the plate would wobble and I knew, Grandma come often. I mowed the yard sometimes, got $2 maybe. The guy then with his arm behind me said, if we go behind these bushes here, I'll give you $200. I'm a neo-pagan, secular, postmodern, unconverted, non-church attending, not Bible reading, not praying teenager. And my finances are $2 here and there, and I'm just being offered $200 if we go behind these bushes and not finishing the sentence. You're old enough. Now, I'm deer in the headlights. What? My uncle had a roommate. And all my life until I was 15, all I understood about life was that my uncle had a male roommate. At around 15, a light bulb went on and I thought, oh, my uncle has a roommate. Right? So I was somewhat familiar with some of it, but deer in the headlights. Now I have 3 seconds to think, process, and respond. What should I do? No week of prayer, no pastor, I don't have a spiritual backdrop to filter this through, and I have about 3 seconds. You want to know what happened? Well, I think now that alarm in heaven. Angels came down, said, we got it, we see that. And I didn't say anything. Within 3 seconds, I stood up and walked away. And if I had not done that, I think I would not stand right here, right now. I think it would have rerouted my life in a direction where I would not be in Missoula today. I've never told my parents. They have watched me on YouTube. They've never mentioned it. Hi, Mom and Dad. But we've never talked about it. I went home, a streetcar number 6 or 13 from main train station in Stuttgart, or the metro, I don't remember, S4, S5, S6 would go to where my parents lived. Came home and I was like, what was that? And then I wanted to be a high school dropout. Quit school, saw an ad in Time magazine for raw land in Bolivia. You can meet an agent in Amsterdam at the airport, fly to Bolivia, La Paz or somewhere, and look at 15 acres of raw land and buy it and build an existence there. And I told my dad at age 15, I want to drop out of high school and go to Bolivia. Thank God for a good dad. He didn't dismiss it as stupid or that's dumb. So he said, let's take a look at that. He looked at the ad and said, well, you know, at age 15, that might be a little hard, and they have malaria down there. And what if he was an exchange student to America in 1953 after World War II? He said, what if you take a year off and go to America, Canada, South Africa, Australia, or New Zealand? English-speaking countries, you pick. I said, go west, young man. America back then was great. It's still great, you know, Montana and mountains. What? But the world was simple. The Russians were bad, and America was good. Yeah, Ronald Reagan, that was a different America. I'm a foreigner, and I can feel that the atmosphere in America has changed last generation. And I said, I want to go to America, like you did. He said, perfect, let's find an organization, sign you up, start saving money. It takes a year or so to prepare, and then you just take a year off and go to another country and come back, and then we go from there. Perfect. So we started saving. I looked at organizations, interviewed with several, got denied, declined by several, hurt my feelings. I was too shy, introvert. They thought I wasn't going to make it. But international cultural exchange, secular organization, not tied to any church, accepted me and prepared me to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And then I got the info sheet from that family, and they had a dog in the home. And at the time, I was highly allergic to animal hair. My pediatrician didn't believe us. Back then, people didn't have allergies. Now we have allergies. Everybody's got allergies. And my mom took me to a horse stable. I almost died. I swelled up, teary-eyed, welts on my body, couldn't breathe. She took me back to the pediatrician, and he said, he has allergies. Then I got 30 shots over a course of 2 years, desensitization. Don't know what that did to my body. The main thing that helped with allergies, I'm fine with dogs, horses, now is I think change in diet and eating local honey. Not 30 shots, but we did that, and the time was coming for me to go to America, but my dad and I went to an open-air market on a Saturday, not Sabbath, just Saturday, buying groceries for my mom, and there was a guy handing me a glow track. I still remember the scene. This is 1985. I was 17. Don't do the math. There's a crowd. We're at the stand. I think it was Lettuce Heads, Iceberg Lettuce or so, and just a hand reached out, an older gentleman. Older is 90 and up. No. Older. You're still young. But a hand came out from an older gentleman just handing me a paper. It was not Adventist. It was about Jesus, dating, and girls. I didn't know Jesus, dating, and girls goes in one sentence. I was like, what? I kind of looked through it. That's probably from a cult or so. And I threw it in the corner. I didn't throw it away, but I flung it like a frisbee in the corner of my room and didn't pay attention to it. And then, young ladies, my parents. Can you imagine my parents? Before I went to America, my parents made me clean up my room. What's up with that? I had to clean up my mess. My stone collection, I collected rocks, my coin collection. My brother did stamps, so I did not do stamps. Because, you know, if your brother does stamps, I guess I did coins. My coolest coins were from China, so they had a hole in it. I thought that was amazing, a coin with a hole in it. I had to clean all that up, and there was this pamphlet. And I picked it up, and I think angels again came, Holy Spirit moved, and I read it, and I can't explain it. I gave my heart to Jesus. I knelt down. Nobody had ever told me about kneeling for prayer. I didn't know about that. I knelt on my carpet. I still have that carpet. I think it's from Turkey. I knelt down and said, or I lied down, or I cried out to God, God, send me to a Christian family. I want to know more.
Amen.
And I went to church, my Lutheran church, the Sunday before I left for America. This is weird, but it was a cloudy day, and I sat in the pews. There were only little old ladies there. The men had died in World War II, and there were no teenagers. Normal church on Sunday in Germany. Very few people. Drab sermon, kind of, don't remember the sermon, but the sun came out and shone through the window and hit where I was sitting. I thought, that's weird. And I said, God, send me to a Christian family. I want to know more. And I got rerouted because of the family with the dog in Arkansas. That wouldn't work out. I got rerouted to a family in a little town 1 hour south of Dallas called Keene, Texas. Flight AA-71, I've flown it many times now. The guy next to me asked me, so where are you going on that flight? I said, I'm going to Keene. He said, no, that's pronounced Killeen. I looked at the paper, there was no L in there, but what do I know? You know, little town of Keene, Texas. Before we took off, I'll add this. I've never added this. This is my first time public with a recording. There was a group of 50 kids probably going to America, all over America, where we all met Frankfurt Airport, and we stayed in a Novotel hotel the night before. And I was in a room with 3 guys, and they watched PORN on the television. And my conscience, I saw it for a split second. My conscience, I'm neo-pagan, secular, Greenpeace belonging teenager without week of prayer, summer camp, never. My conscience said, don't watch that. That's bad. And I turned around, put the covers over me, and tried to sleep. That's all I've ever seen of that. Praise God. And then I flew to America. Host family picked me up, and they had a welcome sheet on my counter in my room in Keene, Texas, little town 1 hour south of Dallas. It was 105 degrees. I came out of the airport and thought, what is this? In Germany, we never canceled class because of rain, snow, or ice. But we did cancel class if it went above 90 degrees. Heat-free, we called it. But anyway, they had a piece of paper. Where do I go to school? Public high school. Where do I get on the bus number 6 to go to Cleburne High School? What do I do with the dishes, laundry, mowing the yard? And there was a line, we are what did it say? Seventh-day Adventist. I never heard of that. Seventh something. I didn't know what that meant. And we go to church on Saturday. So I thought, I'm in a Jewish family. And they said, yeah, we don't eat pork. I said, yep, Jewish family. Then I went to church with them, and I thought, church, they don't call that church, a synagogue. But they called it church. That didn't make sense. My English was very bad. And they talked about Jesus. And I thought the Jews don't talk Jesus, so they must be Christians. But Seventh-day Adventist is not Christian. I was confused. And then the Saturday thing. In Germany, the church bells ring on Sunday, mowing the yard. Walmart is closed by law. McDonald's might be open, some restaurants, some bars, but other than that, it's quiet. Even though most people don't believe in God or church, it has a holy feel with the church bells ringing. Saturday is oil change, yard, Walmart, etc. And now this was reversed. Saturday was quiet, church, nap time, Adventist. And then Saturday night, popcorn. So that was strange, and I went to church not because of church. I was still kind of unconverted, but I went to church to learn English. And I was amazed. A little town of Keene, population 5,000, there were 3,000 people there in church. I'd never seen that in my life. Big cathedral church in Germany, there's 30 people on Sunday. And here there was 1,000. And potluck, and food, and laughter, and hugs, and I was like, wow. It's time to do laundry. I put white jeans with red shirt on hot together. My mom did everything for me. I learned. It came out pink. But I did it Friday night. The Friday night laundry, and the lady came, lady of the house, and said, excuse me, but we don't do laundry on Friday night. So why not? It's a perfect time to do it. End of the week. She said, it's Sabbath. Oh, okay. She said, on Sabbath we don't do laundry. It's the holy day. And she said something, and she said, finish your load so it doesn't smell, and go ahead and put it in the dryer so it doesn't sour, and then don't do it again. Okay? You can do laundry any other time. Our time is Thursday or something, but you can do it any other, but not Friday evening to Saturday night. I said, okay. I finished my load, went to my room. I never listened to rock music, but I put a tape, it's like an MP3 file. I put a tape in my cassette player with Pink Floyd, The Wall. Listening to rock music and having a bad attitude and rebellion went hand in hand. I was like, I didn't say it, I was a guest, but I thought I can do laundry anytime I want. Right? And so I went to my room, shut the door, and listened to Pink Floyd, The Wall. And I didn't go to church that Sabbath out of rebellion. And they were fine with that, religious liberty, and oh, my wheels were turning, and Sabbath, and I had to become vegetarian overnight. I grew up on everything that had a face, a mom, or moved. My favorite was roasted pork belly with the hair still sticking out of the skin, cooked in a 1/4-inch layer of lard fat. And then it becomes crunchy, and you crunch on that. You can buy that in America at PetSmart. My mom would put cow brain in the spaghetti meatballs. That was before mad cow disease, Jakob Creutzfeldt disease. We ate liver and onions. We ate liverwurst, sausage made out of liver. We ate pig kidneys. They're little kidneys. You can tell it's a kidney, cooked, and we ate it. And my mom cooks a lot healthier now, no more pork, except for my dad. And, it was a fight in my family who would get the chicken wing and who would get the leg, the drumstick. And usually my dad and my older brother got the drumstick, and my mom and I, we settled for second class, just the wings. And once a month my mom would cook milk rice, no meat, and my dad was upset. That was always a bad day because he wanted meat on the table. World War II child, you know, and there was no meat on the table once a month. I also suffered from severe neurodermatitis. My hands were cracked open, bleeding. I was on a prescription strength dose of cortisone. My eyes were so inflamed, I think it was psychosomatic. It was low self-esteem, diet, how I felt about myself, chlorine. I was on the swim team, all that coming together, and I was really depressed. Teenage years, hard. My eyes were so inflamed that public high school teachers would look at me in school and say, Ingo, is everything okay at home? We didn't have school counselors back then. And I said, yeah, but not everything was okay with me. Right? I felt bad about myself. And here I'm in America now, inflamed, hands, self-esteem. And I become vegetarian overnight, not by choice, by chance. And within 6 weeks, my skin cleared up and I didn't need cortisone anymore. That got my attention. And then on the shelf, there were little red vinyl books by some E.G.W. I had no idea who she was, but there was one that said Ministry of Healing. And I needed healing, inside and out. And I wanted to learn English. I was a reader, so I picked up that book, and let me tell you something. My English was on the level of the weather is fine. The children's are in the school bus. That's how my English. We started third grade, but we're doing languages wrong in school. We're doing it with books, charts, and learning up here. And languages are muscle memory. You have to speak it. Yeah, language is something spoken. We don't speak it much in school. That's why you had 3 years of French in high school and can't say a word, because it doesn't go from here to actually saying it. So I couldn't speak well, bad English. But let me tell you something, a couple of things about reading Ellen White. I'm not Adventist, I'm not converted, really, but I found her English readable, understandable, and beautiful. And what she said made sense. I loved reading her, having no idea who she was. Then I received a Bible at a yard sale. I don't know if it was given to me. It's not this one, but or if I bought it for $5. I also got a bicycle for $5. I was so proud of that bicycle. Fixed the brakes on it and rode it to the bus stop where the bus would take me to high school. In Germany, to be cool in the winter, we would tie string around the tires for traction. You were cool if you rode your bike with strings around. Especially the laundry line, nylon, that's a little tougher. You were it. Now it's if you have an iPhone 16, then you're it. I got a Bible at a yard sale, and I wanted to learn English, and I started reading it. Couldn't understand half of it, but I read it cover to cover, made my own concordance, and when I came home from high school, it was supper time, chores, homework. Loved doing homework. It was easy in America. We had to learn 10 English words, and I thought, I'm going to ace this quiz. So I jumped on the homework from public high school and read the books and did the homework, and then it was piano practice, and then I read the Bible. Hours, just devouring book. Jeremiah 15 verse 16 says, his words were found and I ate them. That was me. Wow. And I saw pork bad. I wrote that down, pork bad. Wine mocker, wine alcohol bad. I wrote that in the back of my Bible. It was good. And then God had to wake me up. I wrote to a girl I liked in Germany. She didn't like me. That's hard on a guy when it's not called reciprocal. I wrote a postcard to a girl I liked that I would never become Seventh-day Adventist. No meat, Saturday, kind of strange. It was a good experience, but I would never become Adventist. And I think God saw that and said, bring it on. I got it. Unfortunately, it took a death to wake me up. I was jogging along Old Mansfield Road in Keene, and I heard behind me, back then in the 80s we went jogging, everybody went jogging. I heard a motorcycle behind me, and my host brother, who his room was next to mine in Keene, rode his bike to a Methodist church, their picnic. He played the organ there. They pay more than Adventists do. And they had a picnic, and he was going there, had a helmet on, and I jogged back home, and the phone rang. Joshua Police Department. Now remember, my English is bad. And he couldn't understand me, I couldn't understand him, but I could tell that something bad had happened. He was frustrated. Police department, hung up, and I thought, I was home alone. Thought, oh, bad thing happened. I go to neighbor. So I ran to the neighbor's random house, knocked on the door, somebody opened, I said, a bad thing happened. Police called. They figured out who I was with. It was actually the sister of my host mom and all that. They made phone calls and discovered that on his way home, station wagon caught him, hit his head with a helmet on. Any nurses here, doctors? Intracranial pressure went up. They got the helmet off. Vitamin K for blood clotting, dozens of pints of blood, and he died 22 hours later. My host father picked me up from Cleburne High School. I knew about the accident by then, And I asked, how is Dale doing? He had passed away already. And he didn't say anything. I said, we'll go to the hospital. And we got there, elevator up, I walked out, waiting room, and there were people crying. A pastor in suit and tie was standing in the corner. It was Morris Venden. He just quietly stood there, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like a rug was pulled from underneath me, and nobody said anything. My host brother just died. I'm in a foreign country. His room is next to mine, and he's dead. They brought the motorcycle on a trailer and had it parked in front of the house. I saw it every day for weeks until they got rid of it. I thought his ghost was floating in his room still. There was his Bible, bed, desk, and the person disappeared. I played the piano for the funeral. Do you play the piano? 6 flats. Schubert, impromptu. Français, impromptu. G flat. And people afterwards would say the following. Now watch the English grammar. They said, Dale, who died, he said, that must have been hard playing at the funeral, but that was beautiful, blah, blah, blah. That must have been hard. He would have enjoyed that. I went to my English grammar, would have. That's a conditional clause where the condition is not met in reality. He didn't enjoy it. I thought, and people kept saying that at church. You know, people realized, oh, German exchange student there, and he played the piano, and he, you know, Dale, he played the piano, he would have enjoyed that. It was potluck time. Potluck was awesome. As an 18-year-old male, I was eating all this food. And a guy came up to me and said, you know, that must have been hard. And I thought, here it comes again. It must have been hard to play the piano at that funeral, but he, quote, would have enjoyed that. I had enough of that. I said, he did. He paused for just a second. He said, what do you think Dale is? I said, well, if he was good, he went to heaven. Heaven forbid. Learned that phrase. If he was bad, he went down that way. He was like, is that what you think? I said, yep. He pulled a Bible off a shelf, opened it up to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13 through 18. But I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning those who have fallen asleep. Read it all the way to verse 18. Therefore comfort ye one another with these words. He said, read that. I read it. He said, what do you think? I said, I have to think about it. I taught in a college for 20 years, and I taught my college students to say, in life. I took Amazing Facts study guides secretly. I thought that was the coolest thing. I do a study guide, fill out the quiz, mail it in. They send me another lesson in color for free back with another quiz. I wanted to ace. I'm a little OTG, what do you call it? OCD. I wanted to ace all the Amazing Facts quizzes. So I studied to make sure I get the quizzes right. There was some anonymous lady or guy responding to my quizzes with a personal note. It's like, wow. So I finished the course, and unbeknownst to anybody, something is happening in my heart. I'm becoming a Seventh-day Adventist. Never went forward during an appeal. Nobody came to me and said, Ingo, you got to check out this Sabbath thing and so. Now, the one thing Dale said before he died, we went to California together, drove all night to California, and it was my birthday, 18th birthday, 18. And he told me, Ingo, if you don't make up your mind about God, you will never make it. That's what he told me for my birthday present. You got to make up your mind about God. Because I was talking to him about Greenpeace and what he thought about pollution back then. Way ahead of times. And he was annoyed by that, I think. He said, you got to make up your mind about God. And that was all. And that stung. And now this death here and Bible and Amazing Facts study guides. And my year was coming to an end. Time to go back to Germany. On a Wednesday evening, I attended prayer meeting. Yep, with the little old ladies. There weren't many people going to prayer meeting. I was the only teenager there. but I loved it. They loved me. They hugged me. I could read English, Bible, and on my way to prayer meeting on my $5 bicycle, I went to the Keene Church, a side door, metal door, locked. I knocked on it. Guy opened the door. I said, I'm here to get baptized on a Wednesday evening. He was taken off guard, but then he caught himself and said, let's talk. Good for him. I don't know what he was doing, but he invited me in and said, let's talk. He said, we'll study for 6 months and then you get baptized. I said, I'm flying back to Germany in 2 weeks. He said, do you have a couple hours? I said, I do. He laid out the plan of salvation from creation, pre-creation, to cross, to second coming on a piece of paper. I wished I had kept it. I might still have it. My wife would know, keepsake box. And said, you're ready to become a Seventh-day Adventist? I said, no, I just want to get baptized. That was his reaction. And then he said, do you have another 20 minutes? I said, I do. And he explained church and 1 Corinthians 12, you become a member of a body. And William Miller and Ellen White in 1844 and all that. And I said, sign me up. And I got baptized May 31st, 2 p.m., Keene camp meeting. During that camp meeting, I rode my $5 bicycle to camp meeting at 6:45 a.m. in order to hear John Carter talk about Europe in prophecy. I thought, you gotta be kidding me. Europe is mentioned in the Bible? You don't learn that in the Lutheran Church. Daniel 2 and toes and statue, and I thought, wow. Didn't understand any of it, but I thought, wow. And got baptized to the shock of my parents. They thought I had joined a cult. Kind of like a group in America where you go in the woods, you sacrifice a chicken and then dance around it. That kind of sect. And we have school in Germany on Saturdays. And my parents quoted scripture to me for the first time in my life. Do you know which verse? You can guess. Honor father and mother. And we don't have college in Germany. We have 13 grades through high school, and in grade 12 and 13, you pre-major for medical school, law school, seminary, and you go from high school into med school. No college. And I took the MCAT. I was a bio major and English major, double major. Took the MCAT. I wanted to be a pharmacist, pediatrician, or dermatologist. Love skin, kids, and mixing chemicals. I thought it was so cool. And for some reason, rerouted to attend a Lutheran seminary, but I'm still in high school, and we have school on Saturday, and I gave in to my parents and went to school on Saturday with my conscience killing me. It's a feeling. You know the feeling when you know you're wrong and it's in you. And I'm in school, suit and tie for Sabbath, but I'm in school. And after 6 months, I'm reading the book of Daniel, and you got to take a stand as a young man at some point. And I made the decision. I'm going to my teacher, shaking. I'm shaking. And I told him, because I'm Seventh-day Adventist and God and Bible, I can no longer go to school on Saturday. He took a step back, I remember. Great guy, loved him. Good English teacher. He said, I don't do God. You go to the principal. No religion. So I went to the principal. Now I'm not only shaking, my knees are knocking. So I'm nervous. The secretary, kind lady, said, he's ready for you now, Ingo, go on in there. He smiled at me, very stern but friendly man. He said, what's the matter? I said, I'm Seventh-day Adventist. I can no longer come to school on Saturdays. That's when you pre-major for med school and law school. He said, yep, because of the Jews, we have a rule, law, that you can take Saturdays off, but you cannot let your grades slip, and you have to make up all your homework and can't cause any trouble. I was a little Mr. Goody two-shoe. How did you say it? Two-shoe, yeah, that. I didn't cause trouble, but my grades didn't go down. I struggled in some things, but it turned out okay. And then came the peer pressure because all my buddies said, we want to become Seventh Day. We want to take Saturday off. And I said, come on. Come on. I should have invited many of those to church. But I saw my brother suffering through Latin, and we had 4 schools in the entire state that offered an alternative to Latin. In 7th grade, you add a second language. 5th grade is English, 7th grade is French, parlez français. And in 9th grade, you either add Latin or you add Latin and you go the science STEM route where you emphasize math, physics, chemistry, etc. We have math every semester of school. From kindergarten to finishing high school, you have math every semester, and physics, and biology, and chemistry, and all that. But my neighbor's school offered Russian, and I thought I could be a spy. So instead of Latin, I learned Russian. And our field trips were not to London, Paris, Rome. Been there, done there, got the t-shirt. Our field trips, this was Cold War, Soviet Union. Some of you less younger folks, Leonid Brezhnev, Andropov, Chernenko, Yeltsin, Gorbachev, you remember that? Our field trips were to Moscow, Leningrad, Siberia, Bukhara, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tashkent, Almaty, Dushanbe, Petrozavodsk, Murmansk. I took pictures of Russian submarines. There was a sign that said, "Fotografировать нельзя," pictures not allowed. I thought, there must be something good around here. I went away from the group and I thought, there's got to be Russian submarines. And I'm converted now. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and you're allowed 2 Bibles as a tourist to go into Russia. We went many times. And so I loaded up my suitcase with Bibles, and I gave all my classmates 2 Bibles. And then once we got through the airport safely, I would collect them, then find an Adventist church. And I did that a number of times. Our senior class trip was through Moscow, Novosibirsk, and then on the Trans-Siberian Express all the way to the coast of Japan, Khabarovsk. 5 days in a train without a shower. But it's cool. You know, when you're young, it's like, wow. I sat with Russian soldiers, and I found the church in the Irkutsk, Lake Baikal, and Odessa, Ukraine, that's in the news now, and delivered Bibles and people weeping for this, you know. I just got this in Helena. I found a Christian bookstore in Helena. I needed a travel Bible that I can see at my age. I don't like small print, and it needs to be kind of flat, and a piece of paper needs to fit in it. It's very specific what I need in a Bible. And people holding a Bible and crying, you know. It's I made it to far side of Siberia. That trip at the Sheremetyevo airport, the guy in front of me, the soldier said, "Открывайте ваш чемодан, open your suitcase." And I thought, oh, if they ask me, I'm in trouble, because my suitcase is loaded with Russian materials, top to bottom. They squeeze your toothpaste to make sure it's toothpaste. They will pull on your film canister. Let me explain. It's like an SD card, but you take it to Walgreens, have it developed, pay extra for 1 hour development, or you have to wait a week and get your pictures back. So a little film canister, they would pull on them to make sure it was film. Then they check your shoes, because that's the number one method of contraband transportation. You cut them open, put stuff in it, and glue them back together. So they would check your shoes. They checked everything for the guy in front of me. And I'm like, God, help. I think an angel came down. The little soldier looked at my passport, glanced at me, didn't even look at me, glanced at my passport, turned pages, and I thought, please. And then I think an angel grabbed his arm and he waved me through without check. Made it to Moscow and then all the way to the far side of Siberia. That doesn't see very many tourists back then. The town below it is the largest Russian submarine base. Murmansk is the other one. And I found the church, delivered my Bibles. The Russian pastor visited me in Germany one time. We gave him 10 suitcases full of stuff and he made it back. Just tremendous experiences, but life is not always cheesecake, and but we fly on those experiences. And I need to cut it short because I need to get to part 2.